Good evening and welcome to the Sunday edition of Spurs Diehards, TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but it's bloody hard to get stronger at the moment as Tottenham suffered yet another awful home defeat at the hands of our big rivals West Ham United yesterday. To discuss that, but more importantly, the implications of that defeat and the future for Thomas Frank and indeed the future of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, I have two special guests and of course my old mucker Adrian. Phil King from Frankfurt Spurs in Germany. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, Phil. How are you tonight?
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Adrian. Good to see you again, Gary, as well. Yeah, nice to be on, as always, in these difficult circumstances at the moment that's afflicting our club. But yeah, I'm good apart from that. Much better than yesterday. Yesterday evening was a write-off. I must admit, I had some very interesting dreams after all of the stress of yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, and today was quite chilled. But obviously, it's been a day of scrolling through X and trying to play some kind of bingo on what time there's going to be some kind of announcement. But I'm good to be on again and looking forward to getting into it.
And good evening, Gary from Project Spurs. How are you tonight?
Yeah, not too bad. Been a long day. Very similar to Phil. I had some really strange random dreams yesterday, and not good ones either. It's all Tottenham related and football related. It's very very different, strange. But the afternoon with the in-laws and my wife and little girl, which are all West Ham fans. So they were okay actually. It wasn't too bad. Yesterday when I got in, was a little bit more tougher. My daughter found it hilarious, and my wife just gave me a smile. So. Yeah, it's been difficult. Obviously, there's so much that's going on in around the club at the minute, and it's a worrying time. It really, really is.
Callum was meant to be joining us tonight, but he's been called away on urgent business. But of course, his family are West Ham supporters as well. So there's plenty of them about, and good evening, Adrian. I'll just say hi to you. Yeah, I know I forgot you once, but just because you're part of the furniture, I guess.
I'm in the mud, aren't I? I mean, I keep making positive predictions. I predicted a 5-0 win for Spurs yesterday. So
I did.
I'm in the mud. I'm right in the mud, but I've dusted myself down. I'll be fine. I'm looking forward to getting into the show.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, there's my grandson's just sent me a picture of me on the screen, so he's watching as well. Good evening, Louis. There's no doubt, is there, Phil, that Spurs are in crisis?
Yeah, we're in a massive crisis, and we've been there before many times over the years, right? It seems to be a a little kind of repeating loop, doesn't it? Every couple of years or something over the last X amount of time. You know, save for the kind of Pochettino period, Champions League final. Obviously, at least we won the Europa League last season. You know, if we hadn't won the Europa League last season, can you imagine, you know, what it would have been like in the summer and also this year as well? So thank God we did actually win that at least, you know, and get that trophy monkey off our back. But look, we're in a big crisis. It seems that the fans have given up. Never seen, you know, such a kind of wave of, you know, anti-manager postings and, you know, feelings both in the stadium and also online. Very rarely seen it at that level, right? Where it just seems that pretty much everyone now is against the, you know, the current manager. And of course, we've still got the topics around the ownership. You know, obviously there was a statement this week which was kind of interesting, and it's been a lot of change in the club. Obviously, Daniel Levy's not here anymore, so people can't really moan about him in the present. But the club is a mess at the moment, you know, from left to right, from top to bottom. And, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with the situation now and in the coming couple of weeks and months, with a very difficult February ahead of us fixture-wise. And then going on to the summer, where probably there's going to be a big managerial change for the summer. So
well, we will come and to see. Gary, your information was that we rather expected that Mr. Frank would be gone by now, and he's not. So, what's the latest you're hearing from inside the club?
Yeah, I kind of shared that in frustration and kind of regretted it as a sense then, because it went a bit crazy. Essentially, I've been told by a number of directors that they've asked for him to leave the football club. That was echoed by a number of people. There is a couple that are against that, and they're more senior people. It's pretty easy to work out who those two are. They were against it. That was late last night. Then there was a meeting today. The same things have been said. I understand that he'll probably be going. I think it's a matter of when, not if. I don't see him being there tomorrow. I can't guarantee that because I don't know. I haven't had any more information. It's just purely my thoughts. If he does turn up to that press conference tomorrow, then he obviously gets that Dortmund game. But I know there is one senior figure that is essentially backing him and wants to give him as much opportunity as he can. And the Champions League is seen as obviously very important. I don't see how we're going to get through that Champions League fixture anyway. I can't understand, after being at the stadium on yesterday, that any ownership can look at that and say that that's acceptable to carry on with. You've got 17,500 people in one area shouting you're getting sacked in the morning, and then it was carnage behind the dugouts where I sit. You know, there was just abuse after abuse, which, you know, it's not nice, but I can't understand why something's not been changed now. The only thing I can think of that is potentially happening is obviously compensation is being looked at, a contingency plan is being sorted, and essentially it will be announced tomorrow. If it isn't, I'm shocked. I'm really, really shocked, because from what I was told, it was coming and it was imminent. But it's imminent in terms of those individuals want him gone. But the main person in charge is the one that makes the final decision, and I suppose that's in any business. Ian, you're in HR, right? And it comes down to one person's decision at the end of the day. So it's very difficult. If he does go, it'll probably be John Heitinger as interim. There's a couple of other people's names have been mentioned. Ryan Mason's been mentioned. I know that.
Yeah.
Stuart
can I
Lewis.
Stop you, Gary, because this is all stuff I want to get to. Interims and permanence and what have you. But Adrian, let me bring you in there. You were in the South Stand. I was there last week. It got pretty toxic at the end of the Villa game. I imagine it was even worse yesterday.
Yeah, I'm high up in the east stand, right next to the south stand. It couldn't be any closer, really. So, yeah, at the end of the whistle, it got toxic before the whistle as well. But before the final whistle, that was just a clincher, even before they scored the winning goal. Yeah, so I've said once you lose the fan base at home, you're toast. He's toast. It's just a question of like when the trigger is pulled. Knowing how important, and that could happen tomorrow, as Gary said. But knowing how important the Champions League is to this club, it's our last competition. We hope to go as far as we can in. I'm not so sure of all the injury problems you're going to put an interim in charge, unless it's someone who's actually there that's been there with Frank. I mean, Heitinger's just came in, so he hasn't seen much. It would really need someone in the club now on the coaching staff that knows the players and all that, rather than bring a fresh person in to try and tackle Dortmund, who are sitting second in the Bundesliga and they've only lost one game, and Bayern are top because they've won them all. But Phil will know more about the German league. Yeah, so I think he might get Dortmund, and if you bring an interim in, it'd be an easier ease into the situation if he gets Burnley away. So I'm not sure. He could go tomorrow though, but I've got a sneaking feeling it will be, because if the two people that we think it's going to be, Vinay and Langs, that brought him in, are the ones that want him to stay, if Boucher does want him to go, or Vivian or Charlie, really, you brought your CEO in. You can, sort of apply slight pressure, but you brought him in to do the job, so it should be his decision. It should be his decision, even if he's under pressure. And so, with that, back to you.
I'm gobsmacked he's still in position. I must be honest. I expected an announcement last night, but I went out to dinner. I'm in Spain at the moment, so we're well represented with Northeast London, with Cambridge, with Frankfurt, and the Costa del Sol at the moment. But I took my hour ahead of you, so we went out for dinner for 7:30, 6:30 your time. I expected an announcement pretty soon after the game, to be honest, but it wasn't. Look, I've got more important things to do than announce managers. We have at the moment showing 464 of you, 465. It's going up all the time. If you are with us, with Spurs diehards, please get over and look at Project Spurs. No vowels in the project, PRJCT, Spurs SPURS. Have a look at that site. Please like Gary's site, please our channel, and please subscribe to it. He and Callum and others produce some absolutely top-class content, always worth hearing. And also, if you're watching via Gary's channel, please come on to Spurs Diehards TTID on YouTube and like and subscribe to our channel. We're into the 480s now, so it's going up all of the time. Phil, I haven't actually got a link for your channel, but we'll come back to that. This is not a village in Wales. This is Thomas Frank's record over the last however many games that is. It's shocking, isn't it?
It's just not good enough. At the end of the day, it's just not good enough. Retrospectively, I think we said it yesterday or, after the game, but retrospectively, if you kind of take off the Thomas Frank slightly rose-tinted glasses, which I certainly had on, to be honest, for a lot of the season, I was Thomas Frank in pretty much the whole way until about 2 weeks ago, when I started really to question that and, whether he would be able to actually turn it around and improve the way of playing. But, if you look back, there's an argument to say that probably or maybe they should have, powers that be should have, fired him after the North London derby as an example already, possibly, or sometime around then. And they didn't. They stuck with him, and essentially they gave him actually the opportunity to at least show some progress, right, in terms of the way that he's setting up, the way that he's playing, getting to know his squad better, getting some players actually up to fitness, like Mwani, so, he's had over 30 games, and that's what the result over the last, I don't know how many games are in that. Is that all of this? It's probably not even all of them, is it? But that's like the like look at it. I mean, it's just not good enough, and he has had the time, and there is the argument, of course, still that if he had Madders, if Solanke had been fit the whole time, if we had a Son, in there, that's still those 80 goals and assists, right, that we're missing. There has been that argument, right, and it's probably been quite tough for him, but there's been no sign of really how we really want to try and play football, apart from kind of just playing it down the wings and long balls and zero central play, zero moves, zero triangles, constant mistakes, constant, believing in the goalkeeper and Vicario, who, even 2 months ago was number one in the league for the amount of errors. I think it was already 5 or 6 at that time, right? Directly leading to a goal. And he made another one, yesterday, and he still plays every single game. So look, it's not good enough. And I think any manager, for a team as big as Tottenham, for a team that actually won the European trophy last season and, was competing for the title theoretically a couple of years ago, it's just not good enough. And they would anyways have to really probably expect that they would lose their job. And you know what? Probably my last point on that specifically is Daniel Levy. We say what we want about him, but like he probably would have got rid of Frank by now. In fact, he would have got Frank. He would have done the deed by now. And the fact that Vinay and the rest of the board, again, as Gary said, maybe these things are difficult with compensation, with the contracts, there's a lot of staff, right, that are involved in this because we brought in so many. I think the whole of the player analysis team came with Frank essentially. So there's a lot of heads there that all need, all the legalities going through, and then they need to make sure that the solution's in place with the interim. They need to tell the right people. So if it is tomorrow, okay, that's fine.
Gary, let me bring.
No one knows.
Let me bring you in on Gary. Gary, we're over 600 at the moment. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. I'll give some more links to the show. Tom, fresh from his. Have I got him on there? Yeah. Tom Clark, zookeeper. Tom, good evening. Tom, I will bring you in a moment, fresh from his babysitting and baby tending duties. So I'll come back to you in a sec if I can, Tom. But what I was saying with the numbers, there are obviously going to be a lot of people watching that haven't seen me on stream and haven't listened to this show before. So again, thanks for tuning in. But people who are regulars will know I wasn't a Frank fan. I didn't think it was the right appointment. But I must say, Gary, I am shocked that it's been as bad as this. You're a qualified coach. You've got a lot of experience around professional football and youth football. A couple of things for you. One, why is it so bad? But secondly, the one thing that has shocked me as much as anything is that there is no pattern, there is no style, there is no watching it and saying, I know what they're trying to do. And I think we contrasted this last week with Villa. All right, they got beat today, but everything they did was simple. Players were in positions they knew that where their teammates were going to be. Very simple, very effective. There's nothing in this Tottenham side at all.
No, there's not. I know it's a big question. It's a big question. From my experience and just looking in, my worry was when he came in that he was too focused on other teams, and I thought that was quite. I was a little bit concerned when he first came, and that was what he was saying, but I understood it because of the position we were in last season and where we started, or where we finished. Sorry, and I thought, okay, defensively we need tightening up. He immediately tightened that defence up, and we went on back-to-back victories in the Premier League in those first 2 games, which we've never done since. We haven't done that since in the Premier League. I believe he is too focused on the team he's facing rather than the focus being on the team and players he has. He has some exceptional footballers. There's no doubt about it. There are some absolutely quality players here. There are some very bang average players as well. You look at what he did at Brentford. He adapted, but he kept a lot of the same style of play there. And at Tottenham, he hasn't built on that at all, not once. The only thing I can see that he does at Tottenham is we get it into a double pivot, put it out to the wing, we get to the edge of the 18-yard box, we then cut back, we go back to the double pivot. If we have to go back to the centre-back, we go back to the centre-back, and then we go out the other side. And we keep doing the same thing and then hope that we can tip a ball across the box and somebody's striker or the opposite winger is coming in to score. There was 3 occasions yesterday that we tried to do that on a free kick. Now, it's not working in the general senses of the play, so we're now reverting to try and do it on a free kick as well. That's the only style of play that I can see that we're doing, and it's not working. He's not being adaptive enough. He's adapting to other people rather than looking at what we're doing and not being adaptive. That's where I think his majorly issues have lied. He's focused too much on other teams. Some of the first things he came out with saying, we will 100% lose. That was like one of the first things he said in a press conference. Came out against Bournemouth, hadn't won a game in 10 and said this is going to be one of the toughest games possible. I don't see what that motivation to constantly demean us as a club or as the players does. Again, yesterday after the game, came out at the press conference and said that the fans weren't backing him enough. This dig against us and the players, that all adds up. And I think he's lost a number of the players. In fact, I'm almost certain he has. And there's just no way back from that because he's not getting the tune out of a number of the people. His substitutions again makes no sense to me. Again, yesterday, Matisse to me looked again dangerous. He's subbed off for. I don't know why he subbed off. To be honest, he got an absolute standing ovation coming off. A lot of us were sitting there like, "What is going on?" These substitutions, he's making them, and they're not coming off. I believe he's lost the players. Yesterday was rang true with me. He had Dominic Solanke, bib on, bib off, bib on, bib off about 3 or 4 times, telling him stop, stop, and it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Then he had to have a 5-minute conversation with him. Yeah, Christian Romero screaming at Thomas Frank to get Danzo on. That was nearly coming, then it was stopping. I just think that he's just not been able to nail down what he wants and been able to deliver it. Today, he took the train. He was at training. He didn't take the training, though. John Heitinga took the training. That's been confirmed by journalists as well. So to me, he hasn't been able to instill any style of play for any progression. We are regressing, and we are regressing at an alarming rate. We're in a relegation battle at the moment. We are in a relegation battle.
Tom, there is so much for you to get your teeth into there that in terms of style of play, lost the dressing room in a relegation battle. You're a season ticket holder. You're a regular. At the age of 30, not very many. You've seen more bad times than good. What's your take here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is some of the worst football I've ever watched Spurs play in my 34 years on this earth. It's so bad, and like patterns of play, like there is one pattern of play, and that is get the ball out to Porro and let him hoof across into the box. Pedro Porro yesterday did 24 crosses in that game, 24, and only 6 of them got to a Spurs man. One of them obviously resulted in a goal, but across this season, he has hit, I think, close to 200 crosses now into our box. Obviously, he's done over 200 crosses, and only 2 of them have resulted in a goal. Like, statistically, if Frank's such a statistics man, that is a terrible average for like continuing with that as your only method of trying to score goals. And like, I mean, Gary was spot on. I was obviously sitting standing the south stand, and Romero had picked up a little knock or a little injury, and he was saying that he wanted Danso to come on for him because he was struggling, and then proven by the fact that then he walked all the way from the West Ham's penalty box all the way back to our penalty box in that moment where West Ham got the corner, he was massively out of position. He then got into the box, and then they obviously score from that corner. He was, and like Thomas Frank, for whatever reason, I was just like, it just seems like Frank is scared of some of the players. Like I just don't think Frank has got it in him to manage big personalities. I think at a Brentford where he's got players that he's trying to improve and trying to get the best out of, good to average players, I think that's what he thrives in. But when he's got players with personality, he's just showing that he cannot do it. And I the last season around February, March time, when there was all this talk of potentially Ange Postecoglou like being sacked and stuff like that, Thomas Frank was one of the people that I said we should get, because I thought he would be a very, very good manager that could scale up to a big club. But I think he's just proving that he absolutely cannot do it. And when you've got the whole South Stand booing you, and let's be clear, they were booing him, the South Stand, because after he walked down the tunnel, the players that were still on the pitch, which was Bergvall, Van der Ven, Romero, Zuma, all got clapped off by the fans. Like they all got clapped off, and I don't think any of them put especially a great performance in, but they all got clapped off. Basuma walked around, he was being applauded. Bergvall was getting applauded, and he came on for 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Romero, was being name chanted throughout, and he acknowledged the chants that the crowds were doing. All the boos, all of the noise yesterday was solely and squarely aimed at Thomas Frank, and the fact that he is still here and not been moved on. And not only that, you know what? If they're not going to sack him, then why haven't they come out and said, we know like the feelings, but this is part of, this is a project. We knew it was going to be painful. What Frank is here to say, like, come out and communicate that he is staying if he's staying, and if he's not staying, why haven't you announced that he's going yet? And it just shows that there's just so much confusion within that boardroom, within this club, which is just filters down. It just filters down into the players and into the fans, and it's just ridiculous.
Adrian, let me bring you in. So many great contributions here. It's hard to know where to start, but I think a couple of points that Gary made, I'd also like you to pick up on. First of all, people criticise you. You're in social media a lot, as am I, that saying these players are all rubbish. And I'm with Gary on this. I think there are a lot of very, very good, very, very good footballers at the club. And the second problem is, and I've said this, you've heard me say this, a Brentford manager with a Brentford mentality, his worry is always what the opposition will do, rather than saying, boys, you're better than them, go out and beat them, and this is how you're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the issue's been, the only positives that we've had over last season, this season, the fact that young players have been given games like Gray, Bergvall, Tell, Odebert, and Xavi, and you're playing so many in a team when you need a few more experienced heads in there as well. But my take is the fact that I don't think these are bad players. I think you've got developing players which are undoubted talents. And we've missed our 4 top goal scorers for last season in Kulu, chipping with 10 or 12, Madsen the same 10 or 12, Solanke with 15, Johnson, who we sold, he scored 18. And if you want to add a 5th player, you could add Son. But to caveat that, Frank knew what he was taking on when he joined this club. And I've always wanted a manager with Spurs DNA. And none of the last managers got Spurs DNA. Even Conte, even Mourinho, they're more egocentric managers that suit themselves. So the club take the blame for bringing these managers in, because they were never going to be the fix that we wanted. They were never going to play the attractive, attacking football that Spurs fans like me and you have brought up on. And I feel sorry for the young generations who haven't seen it, because it was a delight to go to games.
Yeah.
Because we weren't, and we didn't have any expectations of winning anything in the past. But you went because it was entertainment, and you went to see a good game of football. And most of the time, the team delivered. But Frank, I didn't know too much about him. I know he'd done well in Brentford in the second division. He got them to become established in the Premier League and all that. I didn't know what we was getting. I didn't know. I thought, well, because he was on limited resources at Brentford, perhaps when he comes to Spurs, when he's going to have more chance to bring in a better quality type of player in, that he would actually step up to the plate. But as Tom's alluded to, He hasn't. He's had he's had 21 league games, 6 ECL games, 2 League Cup games, 1 FA Cup game. That's 30 games plus a pre-season. And I haven't got a clue what our football philosophy is, Ian. I haven't got a clue. You just don't see it. There's not even any patterns there. If you could see the link-up play, say, between your left back, left-sided midfielder and your left winger, and the same on the opposite side of the pitch, and movement through, like where's the midfielder? When we used to moan about Maddison coming back and receiving the ball, because he shouldn't be the one that does that. But another midfielder should be coming back and taking the ball off Vicario. And other things that are patently obvious that we see. I mean, Villa came last week. They left 3 on the halfway line. You've got an out ball. In fairness to Vicario, every time he gets the ball, because everyone's back, there isn't really anyone to give it to anyway. You need someone up there. I mean, Kudus was doing it when he was fit. He was staying forward. But you want at least a striker and a winger up there. So then he can, Vicario can throw it to the halfway line. He did it in his first game against Brentford away. I mean, and then you can progress, but there's nothing. And all this deep passing from the deep, I get it, lure players on, so you've got space and you can get your overloads going from the back and get overloads in midfield and overloads going forward. But this isn't working. He'd be better off. I mean, at least when you had someone like Poch there who I liked, you played a high line. So you condensed the play in your opponent's half. You knew what would happen. You could force errors and mistakes, force them to kick long. So as you got more, you won more of the kick long balls, and you recycled and went again. And you could see that with Poch. You could see the system. You could see it movement in the midfield. When Ericsson used to drift to the left and things like that, or stay central. I just see nothing at all. Back to you before I go crazy, right?
No, don't. I mean, let me, because
Tommy Schwenk personal. He's a likable person. He did well at Brentford. It's just there is no patterns of play that he's brought to the club that is in any way a progressive football. He's too focused on other people, as I said earlier, and it just feels like there's too much focus on that and not enough on building something with us. We've got arguably that backline is excellent, and that is what we missed last season. We could score. My worry is we started yesterday. It's a €95 million striker 2 years ago. And we can't even get it. We can't even get the ball into him. We can't play to his strengths. We don't play to anybody's strengths. He's a likable guy, as I said. I've got anything against him. He's just not right for Tottenham. It's not right for the players that we've got. He's not able to get a tune out of them. He'll do well at another club, but he's not going to be at this club for much longer. I'm shocked he's still here now. I am very shocked.
we have gone through the 1,000 barrier. I don't think we've gone through 1,000 before on our show. So I know we're going out live on Gary's, I think on your YouTube and also on your X as well. I need to get
just
my technology.
My X, both my X's. So my personal Twitter account and the Project Spurs one.
Yeah,
about 500 from me. So it's great for.
Sorry, I'm talking across you, Gary. Sorry.
Just appreciate you guys looking over. That's fantastic. There's so many crossover.
Yeah, just if you're a diehards, you're on diehards on YouTube. Please make sure you get across to Project Spurs, no vowel in that, PRJCT Spurs, and like and subscribe to Gary's channel. And please, if you're watching through one of Gary's media, please come on to Spurs Diehards TTID on YouTube and like and subscribe to us. The numbers are they're going through the roof. I thought they might, but over 1,000 is brilliant because these are important subjects. So and there's quite a few of you in the chat and a lot of regulars as well. But if you don't mind, there's so many things to discuss. I'm not going through the chat individually. There is comments are there on the right hand side of the screen. I think this is a fairly simple question for everybody, but Phil, let's bring you in. In the week, I did a couple of straw polls on the diehards and the Spurs chat forum, and people, let's keep Frank. There doesn't appear to be much of a case for him now.
There's zero case now to keep him. A couple of weeks ago, there was still a case. If we had seen an uptick, obviously in results, but if we'd seen an uptick in the playing performances, if we'd seen some improvements in terms of the actual play, creating chances, increasing the XG, getting the wingers being more effective, seeing more balance in the team, right? If we'd seen upticks a couple of weeks ago, or let's say, over Christmas period, beginning of January, then there would be a case to keep him, even if it would just be until the end of the season and then reassess, make a decision. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of managers available in the summer, which I'm sure we'll still talk about later on. But now there's not a case for him to remain, not after some of the performances that we've seen. I think the last victory we saw was against Brentford at home, if I'm not mistaken. But we've seen just a couple of absolute stinkers, a couple of awful first halves, which are probably up there with the worst we've ever seen, pretty much, right? Watching Spurs. And, we've had little phases, haven't we, where we've come out with energy and, pressed from nowhere or started pressing. Still haven't been that dangerous, probably, in, overall. Like, I haven't created a lot of chances, we haven't, made their keepers make lots of saves, or we haven't missed sitters, So even in those phases, we haven't really done that much. And that's probably our minimum expectation, isn't it? Like our standards and expectations have almost dropped so low that just to see the players actually go on the pitch and start pressing and, kind of actually play quickly should almost be our minimum expectation, at least at home. So you've got to act now. And we've got such a difficult February coming up on paper, and these 2 Champions League games. We need results in these games, and right now, is Frank going to suddenly magically from nowhere get the team to perform over 90 minutes? Would we get a new manager bounce, even if it is just someone at Heitinger or another interim?
That's
more chance of that. Right?
That's probably already been spoken about. I would assume that's been spoken about internally. But you made some good points. But you could find some positivity in keeping him. There were signs. There was little signs, but there were some there. However, that went weeks ago. And then when you lose the away fans, then you lose the core home fans, and then you lose an entire south stand, time's up. There is no coming back from that. The problem we've got is one man is saying no, and tens of thousands are saying yes, he needs to leave. The club just need to listen to its fan base. That document or statement in the program was all about the fans and how we back your vision as much as our visions are aligned. Blah blah blah. How important the fan base is to the club. Well, the fan base is telling you in your tens of thousands, in your face at the stadium, because they were all there yesterday. The time's up, and they're not acting up. It's very. I can't believe it. I've been refreshing my phone non-stop to see if I've got anything.
Also, Gary, just quickly as well, and Ian, the fact that we actually hired Heitinger 3 days ago, practically, it blows my mind now, because apparently Heitinger was Frank's choice or Frank's man. That's what I was led to believe. I'm not sure if the club actually was more involved than that, and they've kind of actually got him in as a number 2 with a view to him being an interim. But we announced him with a bit of a fanfare. Thomas Frank and Heitinger were essentially hugging, 2 days ago. This is our new team for the future. We're aligned. All this kind of stuff. Then Vinay's statement coming out, and at least he didn't mention Frank in the statement by name or them, because that would have made it even more embarrassing probably for him, if he then would have to basically do the thing tomorrow. But you know, like that was 2 days ago, you know, and everyone just looks a bit amateurish again here, to be honest. There's no like you know, like they must have been considering like Frank's position over the last couple of weeks. Surely any effective board, you know, in any industry, not just in football or sport, but in business as well, right, understands when, you know, leadership is maybe not delivering what they should be doing, and you have to come up with contingency plans. You have to discuss it, you know. But it just looks to me like they maybe they've done it, but they just don't seem to be, you know, decisive enough or professional enough on any of this, to be honest.
Tom, let me bring you in because I do want to start with talking about the boardroom before we start talking about interims and permanent replacements. Is there any case whatsoever to give Thomas Frank the time to turn this round, or do you think we're way past that?
I think we're way past that. To be honest with you, I just genuinely think that the board have just been so reactive rather than proactive throughout this whole process, and I don't think they thought that there was going to be that reaction yesterday. Like, there's one thing losing if you're playing well, but losing, especially to the worst West Ham team in several years at home in such a pathetic manner. Like like you said, the writing's just on the wall. I just don't see how he can stay, because look, if he manages to pull off a victory against Dortmund, I don't think it helps him out. I don't think the Spurs fans suddenly just forgive him. But if he loses against Dortmund, then scale up what happened, you know, at the end of the West Ham game up to 100, because it's just going to be even worse. It's just, unless they're just that blinkered that they don't actually really care what the fans think at all, and they're just, this is our project, this is what we're going on, and this is what we're doing. And like, you know, in some ways, like, maybe the club shouldn't always listen to the fans. Hear me out. I'm going on a roundabout on this, because actually we are very flavour of the moment, aren't we? We're very reactionary to what's happening right here, right now. We've lost badly to West Ham, so we now all want him gone. But like we've all said a few weeks ago, we was thinking, okay, yeah, let's give him the season, but one result, and we're suddenly like, no, he's got to go. So we are reactionary. Like, you see that even with our support in the stadium. If the players give us something to get behind, then we get behind them. If they don't, then we don't. Like, we are a reactionary fan base. But I just think I just don't see how he can continue. I really don't. Like, I've never felt that much hatred from the fans around me towards a manager than I did in that moment in that game. Me being one of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I was one of his. I wasn't a staunch Frank in. I was very much a, well, if he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. Like, it's kind of is what it is. But part of me hopes that the reason why it's taking time is because what they want to be doing is making sure that they've got a man coming in to take over almost immediately. Like, I hope that what they're doing is they're talking to managers that they can, because an interim is like, everyone's got this dream, this lust of, you know, interim manager, and then hopefully Pochettino in the summer. But for me, I want a manager to come in now and have 6 months to get his philosophy across, and then you back him in the summer window. I just think you give him the rest of the season to really weed out who he wants, who he doesn't want, and sort of like progress on from there. And but obviously the manager market is going to be a lot more flourishing in the summer once the World Cup ends.
If you think as well that he came in with, he obviously came in, then he's brought in so many of his own coaches, and then the analysts and all of those people followed him.
Yeah.
Whereas traditionally, like, Nuno didn't come in with really anybody. Conte got a couple, and it was probably easier to move on 2 or 3 than an entire team. The amount of money that's
10, I think it's 10, Gary.
Yeah, 10 people, that's going to cost them a lot of money. But equally, they've got to have 11, 12 conversations. They've probably got to have a conversation with Thomas Frank, then all of those people, and given them the option, they're going to stay, they're going to go. So that's a lot of talk, a lot of money potentially going out the door. And I don't think it's quite as simple as I guess we all sometimes
No,
think. Jose Mourinho or Poch, there was 3 people that went with 3 or 4 people that went with Poch, and then we moved on. And then same with Ange, there was there was like 3 or 4. So that's quite easy, probably conversations to have, especially then if you've got a relatively split board as well. It's got to be difficult, and that's me trying to make an excuse, right? But it's got to be difficult.
100%, and I think that's one of the biggest problems is it feels like they went all in on Thomas Frank, like first time for a long time that they went all in on a manager by getting all of the people he wanted to bring in around him. And there's part of me that thinks, do you just stick it out and will it work? But again, I'm just seeing nothing. Like I feel like we've gone from a manager in Ange where we kind of played like we was like some lady of the night with her legs spread open to now a nun with a chastity belt on. Like it just seems to be absolutely like no focus on scoring goals. Like, and the hardest thing to do in football is score goals. And we just don't seem to really care about wanting to do it other than from a long throw or from like a set piece or something like that. It's just, there just seems no willingness to want to go and score goals. Whereas with Ange, and I'm not for 1 second vouching that we get Ange back, but his mantra was, we'll score goals. If you score 3, we'll score 4. Like that was basically the mantra that he kind of like went down. And I do think the club messed up in the summer. As much as like, at one point I did want Thomas Frank in, I think they should have just given Ange a couple of months to just see what he could have done with players coming back fit and stuff like that. And if we was at this point with Ange, then you go, yeah, absolutely, it's time to cut. It's been 2.5 years. It's not working. Let's cut our losses. But by investing so heavily into Frank, with bringing all of his coaches, his data analysts, everything like that, they have put themselves into a situation now where it isn't just a case of sacking the manager. It's like, do all the other guys go as well? And I think that's why, as to Gary's point, why it's probably not just been a today or a this evening decision to kind of get rid of him.
Yeah. I'm going to come on to that, Tom, because it's a really important point that you've raised. I've got a prep on that. Adrian, let me bring you back in on a slightly different topic, and this will not go down well with some, quite rightly, is that no one's sorry to see the back of Daniel Levy, but it's left an absolute leadership vacuum that needs to be filled. I mean, look at the board, it looks more dysfunctional now than it did at any point in the last 25 years. And from what I'm picking up, and I think Gary has alluded to this, that Vinay and Lange, who were the people that brought Frank into the club in the first place, are the ones that are backing him, and others around the club, and probably including the Lewises as well, are far more willing to get rid of him. But while these two are holding the power or making the decisions, we're not going to make any progress with this.
Well, Vinay is the CEO, so he has to make a decision whether Frank goes or not. I mean, he's the one to make that decision. I mean, Charlie and Viv and Nick Bolcher, I mean, like they're just owners of the club. He is put in there to do that job, to run the football club, all aspects of the club. Lang is just a director of football. So he might have a say, and Paratici might have a say on who they'd like to come in. But Vinay Venkatesham, he has the final decision. So if Frank is sacked, it has to be Vinay's decision. There was no point in being at the club. He put out that letter, didn't he? Which was like, he's just telling fans what they really want to hear, basically. So now we got to see that if Frank goes, he is the one that pulls the trigger. It's like, it will be like his first, decision that we notice that he does it. I mean, I'm with all of you guys. I think Frank's gone. It could be tomorrow. It could be after Dortmund. I get a sneaking feeling it'd be after Dortmund, but I've been proved wrong before, just because of our situation, which I'm sure you're going to go into it. But I mean, no, Vinay's there. He's the CEO. He's the one that we should all be looking at. What are you going to do about this? And the other thing that really gets me is, why is it? And same with players. Why haven't we already got a contingency list of managers? No matter who's manager at this club, no matter how well they're doing, why is there a contingency list of Who's doing well in Europe? Why are you scouting players? What managers are what up and coming managers are there? Who's doing well in Europe? Why haven't we got a list? Because all this interim, Man United had to get Carrick in, right? All this interim stuff. Hang on. All right. I get availability in January. You might not be able to get in, but you should be compiling a list, a future list of managers. The same as you're doing with players in all positions. Any professional body should do this. And I just don't get this, because this is why you've alluded to the vacuum as well, Ian. And it might be why they're delaying the decision, because they think, oh, who are we going to bring in? And I think that's the issue they've got. I mean, and no one thought we were going to lose against West Ham and Burnley, and I didn't. So I didn't think we'd be in this situation. I thought, we'll turn it around now, but it hasn't happened. So now I think it's thrown everyone. I think it's thrown the board, and it's thrown Vinay as well. And if they brought them in, their decision, you don't like to admit you're wrong. So you're going to sort of like backtrack a bit and go on the defensive. And the same thing after yesterday, you can imagine, even with the board, Vinay and all that, apart from the fan base, it was very emotionally charged. So consequently, quick, rough get together, blah, blah, blah. I can see why I had a meeting in the morning when heads have cooled down a bit. And then maybe Vinay now realizes, once everything is sunk in, it's untenable for Frank to stay at this football club. He's got to go.
Yeah.
He needs to be the one that makes the decision. And back to you.
Gary, from your inside knowledge, am I right here that it's Vinay and Lange or Langer, however you pronounce it, are the ones that are still back in Thomas Frank? Langer, of course, is a fellow Dane. I think worked with Thomas Frank at Brøndby. Would I think have been instrumental in his appointment. Where are we at with that? I mean, are we at a stage where, unless Vinay and Langer change their minds, Thomas Frank is as safe as anybody?
Yeah, it's Vinay that's the one that makes the decisions. And from all accounts, he's the one that doesn't want him and is prepared to give him more time. He was given 2 games by some of the Lewis family. That would have been West Ham and Dortmund, but then it was changed because of the poor performance against Bournemouth, and then the West Ham, it was upgraded to like a review, I guess is how it was described. But Vinay is the one that is wanting to give him time. By all accounts, that time might be the Dortmund game. I don't understand it personally, but yeah, Vinay is the main one. I think Jan Lang will be in there as well. But Vinay is the one that makes the decisions. Obviously, the owners can step in, and I think they have. But yeah, it is down to Vinay.
I mean, if we lose to Dortmund, I don't know. I don't think that if you do, you want to keep it quiet anyway, that you've got any inside track to Vinay himself. But it is the view that if we lose to Dortmund tomorrow, and particularly if we lost badly to a good German side, that there will be no further case for Thomas Frank to remain.
The Champions League's obviously crucial to them. It's crucial to the club financially, and they want to make sure they give him every opportunity to go through that, because we have played relatively well in the Champions League. We haven't done too badly in it, and while we're not going to win it like we did in some freak like we did in the Europa League last year. If we lose on Tuesday, the stadium is going to be even more bad than it was yesterday, because yesterday I've never experienced that in my life. I think it'll be even worse. And then we have to get a result against Frankfurt. Frankfurt just sacked their manager this morning, so they're obviously forward thinking. But we have to get at least 1 point. If we can get 3, we're through into the playoff rounds. And they might see that as a positive. However, as I said before, I think we're in a relegation fight as we are at the moment. Personally, we need to move on. I don't know anything other than what I said really last night. There was people who have asked for a change. A lot of people have asked for it, and the main person that doesn't want it is Vinay, and he wants to try and give him some time. But I've been told a few times that it's been done and he is leaving, and then it's all maybe he's not. So it's just so cross-wire. I think that the information coming out is as split as the boardroom is. I know from what I was told about an hour ago that the ownership are not happy with the leaks, and they're not happy with the video that came out against with Vivian being surrounded or being approached yesterday. That's not gone down very well, and the social media outcry of Thomas Frank leaving, that's what's caused the emergency meetings. So I go back to just my own opinion. My own opinion is if he walks into that press conference tomorrow, I think it's at 3:30. He walks into that, he's got Dortmund and Burnley. If he doesn't walk into that, well, we'll know because we'll be told before that. The reason I think Monday is I'm not sure if they have to tell shareholders and like the stock exchange and things like that, because it's going to affect.
I don't think the shares are floated anymore, so I don't think there's any need for. I'm a little bit behind on this, but I don't think there's any need anymore for a stock exchange announcement because the shares aren't publicly quoted.
Okay, so then that's one of my thoughts processes. I'm trying to find excuses why it hasn't happened today, and that's the only. The only other bit is that there, just as when you dropped out, is that there is 11, 12 people that need to be spoke to about compensation or staying on at the club. That's a lot of compensation to pay out, a lot of discussions to have. I think that's what's probably happened today, and then it's okay. Who wants to lead us for a couple of weeks, and then contingency plans are start. So that's kind of what I think happened today. And if we wake up tomorrow and he's gone, then that's what's happened, or he's got Dortmund.
Eugene on the Spurs diehard site has quoted, and I don't know where this has come from. I can't see on this.
It's a guy on Ian. It's a guy on Twitter called Chris.
Yeah, I've got it now. I've pulled it up. It's the guy from Sky, isn't he? The guy. Yeah, am I right? The guy from Sky?
No, he's just some like random ITK. He does seem to get quite a bit right, but I mean,
well, let me read this. Vinay Venkatesham has decided to give more time to Thomas Frank in attempt to save his job. Frank to stay at the club. Thomas Frank will be the Tottenham Hotspur manager for the game against Borussia Dortmund. The club will reevaluate his future after the game. That seems to me astonishing. Vinay Venkatesham has faith in Thomas Frank to change the situation around. Not good English, that. He has informed the hierarchy after an important meeting that took place in the last hour. Thomas Frank stays for now. Let me bring you back in, Phil. And I want to give you a chance to plug yourself as well. What's your take on that?
Well, if that's true, then I don't understand it, because what's going to change between now and Wednesday morning? You know, to be honest with you, even if we beat Dortmund, you know, I don't think it really changes anything. If I'm being honest, like the fans are not going to suddenly get back on side through a victory on Tuesday, which is highly doubtful anyway. I mean, Dortmund are on a bit of a high. They won their Bundesliga game yesterday in the last second with a penalty to win 3-2 against St. Pauli. You know, Dortmund are playing very solid football. You know, they're a bit inconsistent in terms of their kind of attacking creative football as well. But when they click big time, and they've demolished a few teams, but they're still pretty solid. And they've got obviously players in their team that are very dangerous, you know, including, you know, Adeyemi, you know, Julian Brandt. So it's going to be a very difficult game on Tuesday. And I fear for Tottenham anyways, because I think that the Dortmund midfield is stronger than ours. And, you know, the way that we're playing is going to be very difficult. I don't understand why, you know, they would kind of do that. And, you know, anyways, what does it mean? You know, like if we draw that game, you know, what do we reevaluate then on Wednesday? You know, like, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, and if it's a case, then whatever happens on Tuesday, he gets Burnley as well. Like for what? To show that he can actually play more progressive, or
But-
to actually get a 90-minute like performance out of the players? Like what's going to change now?
But my point, though, at the beginning, Phil, is actually that statement to me shows a complete lack of leadership and direction and strategic thinking in the boardroom. It's even worse since Levy went. I'm not advocating Levy coming back by a long shot.
You're right. You're right, Ian. You're
You know,
absolutely right.
but-
You. I mean, Levy, he controlled the club, didn't he? It was he knew everything that was going on in the club. Everyone kind of, I say, respected him, but you know, he was a leader within the club. And as I said, his footballing related decisions over the years have obviously generally not worked out, right, from a footballing perspective, and we can question a lot. But as a kind of figure point and as a leader within the club, he was there, and everyone kind of relied on Levy or trusted him. And Levy was pretty quick with his decisions normally, you know. Now that has gone, you're right. And you know, Vinay's come in. I know he's kind of got to prove himself. He's only been there 6 months, but there's no better way to prove yourself or show what you can do, or show your, how do you say, your decision making abilities, right? By making these hard decisions and backing it up. And that would actually be the right time for Vinay now to do it, right? And actually follow through, you know, get Frank out, you know, be very thankful for what kind of we tried to do and for the project, which at the end of the day, we tried to do a project with Thomas Frank and it just hasn't worked out because the fit hasn't been right. You know, it can happen in football. That's the reality as well, right? It's not like, you know, Thomas Frank is the worst manager we've ever seen. You know, he's obviously proved that he can be a good manager, right? Based on the fact that he's managed in the Premier League for X amount of years. Still, regardless, you know, he'll go somewhere else in the future. And I'm sure that he'll do a job wherever it might be. You know, he's fairly young. You know, he's played with. Do you know what I mean? He's not a subpar manager, right? People can argue about whether he's Brentford level or, you know, he's got no experience at the highest level. That's all fine. But in some shape or form, he's a good manager. But the fit has not been there for Tottenham. He was the wrong profile, the wrong kind of football. And they got that decision wrong. Thomas Frank obviously jumped at the opportunity because for him it was a step up, but it hasn't worked. So all Vinay has to do is kind of gracefully move him on, and you know, it's another day of football, isn't it? You know, but he needs to be decisive, and if he did that, he would also improve his standing and probably his rep. But he would show. He would kind of show that he's in charge, right? It's a bit old school, isn't it? But
let me ask you something on that, because I'm going to talk about runners and riders, but I want to put one specific thing to you before I bring the others in on where we might go next. And it was in context of you saying he'll turn up somewhere else and he'll probably do a good job. There was a suggestion yesterday after Oliver Glasner's press conference at Palace that he was trying to get out of there by this morning. Subsequently, they've agreed he's going to stay to the end of the season. He's calmed down a bit. But you know German football. You know Glasner and his work in Germany. It seems to me that would have been an ideal job swap, because I think Glasner has a bit more wherewithal to come and manage a club the size of Tottenham, and Thomas Frank keeping Palace organised and in mid-table would have been absolutely ideal for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Glasner, you know, I had the pleasure of watching his team and him, you know, here at Frankfurt for 2 years, and where he won the Europa League as well. Admittedly, I would say a much more impressive Europa League kind of campaign than compared to our one, if I can say it like that. You know, he came up against some very difficult sides and, you know, beat Barcelona in the Nou Camp away, you know, on the way, right? And he, Glasner is a fantastic manager. He's won, obviously, stuff. He's won that. He's won the FA Cup. He won potentially a German Cup before he joined Frankfurt, and he won in Austria as well. And he's a very clever guy, Glasner. You know, he will go to a bigger team still, whether it's United, whether it's still us, I don't know, but he will move on. I was calling for, I would have been very happy to have Glasner, even before Ange. I think before Ange was appointed, I was hoping that we'd make a move for Glasner, and I was hoping that we might somehow get him last summer, despite them just winning the FA Cup. The one thing I would say, and I've changed my mind on this actually over the last 4 weeks or so, probably, is Glasner is not a possession-based manager. You know, he plays quickly. You know, he likes to play the ball quickly. He's not as kind of pragmatic or maybe even as long bally as someone like Thomas Frank has been. You know, he can play it on occasion a bit more attacking, but he's not a possession-based attacking manager. You know, he likes to transition quickly, and he needs the right players in his team to enable that, you know. And he switches a lot between back three and back five. And
Yeah.
I think, like in the last 4 weeks, I've changed my opinion on this, because I honestly believe, looking at our fan base, the Tottenham Hotspur fan base, you know, our history, you know, what we've seen over the last 10, 15 years in terms of managers that have, you know, managed us, Mourinho, Conte, Poch. I believe that we need to hire a manager who plays a possession-based attacking game, if only to make our fans happy, because I believe that a lot of the fan base just don't accept, you know, any kind of, I don't want to call it negative football, but you know what I mean, like non-possession based, sitting back, you know, like on occasion it's fine, right? That's what we all ask for, isn't it? We've always said we'd love it if, like, even Ange, whatever, we'd love it in some games if maybe we played a bit more pragmatically, right? And then hit those teams on the break. But like on duration, I think our fan base won't accept a manager, even if he's a serial winner, who plays, you know, more defensive style football. Not anymore, at least anyway. It's just, it's for me, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So I can't. So I even if we hire Glasner and we gave him a transfer budget and everything else, in all honesty, it would take him, I think it would take him a bit of time to kind of get the team, you know, firing as well, actually. Although I believe him to be a much, much better man. He's on a different level compared to Thomas Frank. You know, I think he would potentially get increases in performance in the short term out of the players, just because of motivation, respect. I believe the players don't respect Frank anyways now. You know, I think they look at him, the fact that he hasn't won anything or hasn't kind of managed at a high level, I think has been maybe a bit of an impact there as well. But if we hired Glasner in the summer, I don't think that, you know, if he would lose a couple of games and you wouldn't see, you know, patterns of play as well, kind of really coming out and us hogging the ball and trying to make stuff happen, I think he'd be in the firing line by the fans or by the fan base again as well. Which, so for me, if we hire a permanent manager in the summer, it's got to be someone who plays positive possession-based football, you know, to take things on the front foot. And again, as always, I'd say we'd like someone who could kind of play the Ange way, but just with a bit more, how do you say, idea about how to sort the defense out and kind of balance things up, right? And be more pragmatic on occasion. So,
Phil, you're broadcasting this. We have got 50. It's rising all the time, but we're up close to 1,600. We're at 1,582 as I'm looking. I mean, of course, that's various forum. You were also going out live on Frankfurt Spurs, is that right?
Yeah, I've streamed this out onto my channel on X as well. I've got about 500 viewers, I think, on there. So thanks to everyone for watching or having a look. And as always, go onto the Spurs Diehards page, please, and subscribe and like. You know, these guys, you know, do this every week, religiously, twice a week, if not more sometimes. And it's a fantastic platform. And yeah, as I said, it's great to be on it as well.
Yeah, and thanks for that. And yes, come on to Diehards. Also, we've got a good number on your stream as well, Gary. So it's probably
We're up to about 900 at the minute, which is fantastic. I'm watching. I know this is completely off topic. I've got the
Literally
African
was
Cup
about to
nation
bring this up as well.
on a feed.
Mental.
There's a penalty, and literally just touched him. Is nothing. Morocco have been given a penalty in extra time, and the Senegal players have walked off because it was that bad. I've never seen anything. It was never a penalty. He just touched him. I can't believe it. Anyway, yes, we've got I'm just under 900 viewing through my Twitter, which say thanks for. Please go over to Spurs Diehards and give him a follow as well for me.
Was that? Yeah, please give Diehards a like and a follow. Yeah, was that a VAR review?
They've just walked off the pitch.
No.
Yeah, I think there was a VAR. I think it was given by the referee, and then there was a VAR review, and it stood, and the Senegal players have all walked off the pitch or something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not even extra time. It's actually still the regulation 90 minutes, but it's into 109 minutes of the game because of what's been going on.
All right, look, we're
ridiculous.
Wow.
Can I just say on Glasner? I think it'd be a terrible decision, to be honest with you, with Glasner, purely based on the fact of how he's been moaning about the Crystal Palace ownership and board. I'd give him 6 weeks before he starts moaning about our board and stuff like that at the moment. But also, like with Glasner as well, it's not a guarantee. When he first turned up at Palace, they didn't win a game for like the first 14 games. Like, he's not going to get that time with the Spurs fans, especially as like Philip says, he's a sort of a counter-attacking kind of manager, as opposed to which I have no issues with counter-attacking. You know, what I want to see with Spurs is when we get the ball, that we're actually trying to score a goal, rather than when we've got the ball just horseshoe footballing it across the back line. I know. Mental, isn't it? But I mean, one of the biggest boos at the game yesterday was when Vicario had the ball, he laid it to Mickey van der Ven. Van der Ven turned back, gave it back to Vicario. Fans started booing. Vicario then gave it to Romero. Romero then turned around, gave it back to Vicario. Even louder boos. And that happened about 2 or 3, like literally for about 20, 30 seconds. They were just going between the three of them, and we were just going absolutely apoplectic. Like, now, don't get me wrong, you cannot always go forward. Like, it's impossibility. If you always go forward, you're going to lose the possession. It's going to be turnover. You're going to be caught out, like what's happening with Ange, okay? But you absolutely shouldn't just be tippy-tapping it across your backline, going from one side of the pitch to the other until it gets to Porro, who lumps it into the box. There's just nothing for there. And my thing with Glasner is I just don't think it will work at Spurs. And I actually think I think Spurs fans, we need a name. And I'm not sure Glasner is the name. I feel like we need a manager that's gonna really rally us behind us, and I don't think Glasner does that.
Okay.
If you get someone like, you're gonna get onto these different names.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you because I want you to get on, but I want to keep it in some sort of semblance of order. Otherwise, we'll be all over the place. Look, I think we're all agreed. If he's not going tomorrow, unfortunately, we're all pessimistic. We're probably going to lose to Dortmund, and that's going to be the end of it. So the question, Gary, I'll put to you first, and then I'm going to bring you in, Adrian, on this, is are we going to be looking realistically at an interim or a full-time manager? Because it seems to me the smart money is on us going for an interim.
Yeah, I think it just depends on who's available right now. I thought Glasner would have probably gone today as well, actually, but he hasn't gone either. So that's quite interesting. I can only really see an interim unless Xavi Alonso would come, but by all accounts, information from him is he's going to take a little bit of a break and reassess things in the summer, which I think is quite intelligent of him because he's going to have the world at his feet, really. Not sure about Xavi Hernandez, if that is something that they're interested in. That can only really be the one. You've got Iriola at Bournemouth. That's going to be out of.
Sorry, that's hilarious. They've finally taken the penalty, and he's gone to Panenka it, and Edward Menu's just stood there and caught it. So after all that, it's been saved anyway from a straight Panenka.
That's what put
Sorry,
me on.
guys.
You've got Iriola that's going to be available in the summer because his contract runs out. You've got Glasner that's going to be available in the summer because his contract runs out. You've got a lot of World Cup managers that are going to be available. For me, if I was choosing right now, I'd go with an interim. I'd get somebody that is within the club. Personally, it would be either Stuart Lewis or Wayne Burnett. I'm a big fan of Wayne Burnett. I think they're exceptional. Big fan of him. I go and watch all these games. I watched them. Okay, we weren't great on Friday night for the young lads there, the under 21s. But you do, if you watch a Spurs play, the under 21s, you do not ever hear him not screaming and giving direction. And I think he can give that to this first team for foreseeable for the rest of this season. And then we review things in the summer. And obviously, I'm sure we'll get onto who those names in the summer is, but it's got to be an interim. I just can't see Thomas Frank getting a tune out of these players now, and he certainly have lost the fan base. If he is there on Tuesday, which I still can't get my head around is going to happen, that is going to be an awful, awful, toxic environment.
Yeah.
Adrian?
I was going to suggest Wayne Burnett. I mean, me and Gareth seen a lot of the under-21s when they're successful double-winning season and all that. And he's very manic on the touchline. If you can't see him, you can hear him on the commentary. You can always hear him, right? And then he's really like shouting orders. I'm not sure how much shouting we're doing when he's deafened by the noise inside the stadium, but at least he'll be closer to the players on the byline, like on the touchline. So like to be able to shout and get his word across. I think he would make a good interim. Heighton has come in. I mean, he was with Liverpool during its success. Mind you, he was with West Ham. When he was promoted to manager at Ajax, didn't work out for him. Was he got 87 caps for Holland or something? I mean, he's a footballer. He knows the game. So you'll expect him to stay in his job and have a role to play. I don't know with Liverpool. I've heard he's attack-minded. I've heard he's defence-minded. I don't really know that much about his coaching abilities. So I think Wayne Burnett would be an excellent choice. I think actually it'd be a perfect fit, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The thing for me as well.
Tom,
just sorry.
Come in on this.
Yeah, no, I'd say like I don't know that. I don't profess to know that much about Wayne Burnett and you know his coaching of the youth teams and stuff. But come this Tuesday, we have so many players that can't play that we're probably going to be looking at playing a bunch of the under 21s anyway. So why not have him just take that game? Because I'm not even joking when I say that. Like, Van der Ven suspended.
Adrian,
Gray's
you've got the
possibly
banner
injured.
there.
Polinia's injured.
Yeah,
Like, it's just. Yeah. Look, you got all of those players that are missing. We can't. Yeah, Gallagher can't play because Basuma wasn't included in the squad. So it's just. Surely, I don't see a world in which, unless Archie Gray makes a recovery, but he came off at half time. Even Simmons might even have a knock and stuff as well, mightn't he now as well? So they're wondering whether or not even Simmons will play. My only fault with them keeping Frank is that they know the situation of our squad, and they're probably thinking, do we really want to put someone in charge of abysmal, that's the wrong word, but in a very inexperienced squad against the Dortmund side, which is almost certainly going to get beaten? Do we just give that to Thomas Frank as his last game, put that there as the nail in the coffin, and then move on, give someone a Burnley to have as their first game rather than a Dortmund Champions League with barely any players?
It could be as well that they really are, speaking to maybe a preferred manager, right? Who's out there already secretly, like confidentially, and they're trying to get that person to confirm, and they believe that they may as well keep Frank, keep some continuity, right? It's essentially just training tomorrow, isn't it? And then Tuesday do the game and see what happens, to be honest, and then maybe on Wednesday do the deed and announce the new guy, right? If that's the case, rather than doing it now and then kind of having Burnett, but it would probably be Heitinger then. If they knew that someone was coming in, they'd probably just allow Heitinger to take charge of Tuesday, and then, do you know what I mean? So but I don't believe that. I don't think they're talking to someone as an interim option now. I think if Frank's sacked, I think they'll promote from within, as you said, and I'd be happy with any of those choices that be mentioned. I don't think we'd hire someone on an interim basis externally right now. So,
Gary, there's a part of me that says it would be, and you've been to HR, it would be a ludicrous, unfair dismissal to sack anybody with that many players that are either ineligible to play or injured.
I mean, it's not ideal for him. I get it. I completely understand. I sympathise with it, but he hasn't been putting a tune in with those players. There's a number of them have only recently become injured, and some of them are eligible to play in the Premier League. The team he fielded at the weekend and had available to him should and could have beaten West Ham. Probably one of the worst West Ham sides I've ever seen. And as you all know, my whole family, my in-laws are West Ham, and my dad's a West Ham fan, so I've grown up around it. I've watched a lot of West Ham games in my life, and this is probably one of the worst West Ham teams I've seen. But we should be getting a win there. So he's not getting a tune with the players and without them. But I echo that Wayne Barnett is also in the UEFA Youth League. So when we play in the Champions League, his side play the morning of against the opposite team that we're playing against. You know, the group stages for it, etc. So he's used to playing every 3 days nearly. He's used to managing multiple games in a week. As I think Tom said, we're going to need to look at a number of our youth academy. There's probably not anyone better to look at to be able to work with them than him and Stuart Lewis. I don't know this is even going to happen. I don't think they would, but for me, it just seems like a good appointment on an interim basis while we look at our long-term choices. And I'm sure we'll get into those. I have a head and heart opinions, but it to me just means Wayne Barnett on a interim basis just makes sense in my mind.
On Wednesday's game, though, I mean, the only two fit midfielders we know that are fit are Bergvall and Sarr. If we get him flown back after tonight, right? The Middle East isn't that far, right? So I don't know where the final is, though. Whether it's in North
Senegal have just scored, so he's about to win the African Cup of Nations. So he's going to
Not really playing at all, but yeah.
Is he on a sub bench?
Morocco walked off.
No,
I mean, it's a quality goal as well that they've just scored as well.
They've won it before, a few years ago. They won Senegal.
Yeah, so is about to win that. Is he going to come straight back in? Obviously, Basuma came straight back in. And to be honest, I thought he was excellent.
He was good second half, and I want him gone, but he was good second half. But I mean, so we got Bergvall's fit. We know Sarr will be fit if he don't get injured, right? So, and then we're not sure about Gray or Xavi. They're the only two.
Basuma's not in the squad, is he?
No, Basuma's not eligible. On that list, let me put the list up. I mean, the eligible players again. Look, Dragason's not in it. Gallagher only just come. Basuma and Dominic Solanke ineligible because he had that 60 days. That's how Tell got back into the squad because that 60-day rules. It's another one of these stupid fucking rules they have in European football. And
the only positive we've got is Pap Sarr's on the bench and he hasn't played.
Yeah.
Come on. So that's the only positive really we've got there that he potentially can come straight in.
Yeah, he'd have to be the deep line player, wouldn't he?
20 minutes. He can fly home and play.
Yeah,
he might have to. Tom, take your boots, mate. Take your boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is. It is an SH1T show, really. But yeah. But I mean, I'm with you, Gary. I think very much the team that we put out ought to have been. I mean, someone else. I thought 5. I'm going to put money on 5-0. I didn't bother. But I really thought that we would just blow them away, that they were shit, they'd collapse. The players know they're due a performance, but they're obviously not due a performance.
Believe it or not, we had 21 shots in that game. Watching the game, you wouldn't think so.
No. I can't remember their goalie making a great save.
You made one.
From Xavi, there was that shot, but he palmed.
Yeah.
Made one from Jed Spence as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And we should have scored in the first few minutes, but when the ball broke to the far post and blasted over the bar, We're a few over the bar, though.
Yeah. Either way, I don't think anybody's in any doubt that we are likely to be looking for a new manager before long, whether it's an interim. But whether it's now or come the summer, we need a full timer. And I want to just spend the rest of the show talking about who we need, who we might get. There will obviously be names that are not going to be on my list now that will become available after the World Cup. They'll leave their clubs or whatever. But I mean, I think I had this discussion with you, Tom, so I'll bring you in first. I would move heaven and earth to get this man if we could possibly get him. Simply, I think I put this on one of the chat groups anyway, that his work at Leverkusen and where we are as a club, I think make him the ideal candidate to take a project like Tottenham. He invests in youth. He plays good, enterprising football. I just think he is the Spurs coach from central casting that everybody, including the players, could get behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I say like we need a name, it's not just a name for us fans, but a name for the players as well. Like if he comes in, he instantly gets the respect of all the players, but also he makes us attractive for players coming in as well. Like, let's be honest, if you're being told, right, you're going to Tottenham and you're going to be playing for Thomas Frank, or you're going to Tottenham and you're going to be playing for Xabi Alonso, which one of those is a bigger sell? Like, it's going to be Alonso, like it or lump it. But what I was saying is that if you take like where Leverkusen are and they're sort of standing within the Bundesliga, it's very, very similar to Tottenham. Sometimes they make Champions League, sometimes they make Europa League. They're always there or thereabouts. They're up in top, but they'd never won it. And then he comes in and wins it. And not only wins it, but wins it unbeaten as well. Like the only game they lost that season was the Europa League final.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm not saying that he would be able to do that with Spurs by any shape or form, because I think, you know, Premier League is a completely different animal. But he is a manager who will get, like, Real Madrid is a complete anomaly. Like you have to be able to manage prima donnas. Like that's why Zidane done so well. That's why Ancelotti done so well. It was nothing about how good of managers they were in terms of their tactics. It's all about can they manage the personalities. And actually, he didn't even have a bad record at Real Madrid. Like, he didn't have a bad record at all. You just had players like Vinicius and Mbappe that just started sulking because he told them that they needed to run and press, and they didn't want to do it. Like so. For me, he is the manager that you go out and you slap a big contract down for and say, we want you. My only thing is that I think he's holding out for, I would assume he's holding out for the Liverpool job, which may become available with the way that Arne Slot is going at the moment. But of all the managers that are available right now, he would be my absolute number one. And I do think we need a manager now who can spend 6 months or the rest of the season with the squad, trying to get their philosophy across, knowing which players they want to keep and which ones they don't, and then give them the money to back them in the summer.
Phil, bring you in. You'd have seen his work at Leverkusen and the miracle he achieved there. Am I overstating it to say he's the perfect manager for Tottenham if he was remotely interested?
No, you're absolutely spot on. Both of you, really. I mean, for me, I've got to be honest as well. I mean, Xabi I've always been a big Julian Nagelsmann fan, and I kind of dreamed of seeing him at the club. And I was gutted a couple of years back when we were quite heavily linked and supposedly we were talking to him and it didn't quite work out. I still think that he would be perfect for us as long as we give him, again, the right kind of, how do you say, structure, which I think he needs. And that's what I would question, whether that would work or not, you know. But I think that, Xabi would be my number one choice, actually, if I had to pick, I think, anyone out there, because he's done that project to Leverkusen. You know, the Leverkusen thing that he did was ridiculous. You know, like they had a lot of challenges the season before even. He literally like bought some players in, not even at high transfer values, to be honest. And he just got the best out of every single player. Everyone played for him. Everyone, you know, like almost transformed themselves a bit. Xhaka was reborn in that season, actually, because he hadn't been that good just before that. And they were amazing. And I think that, you know, as Tom said, we are very similar to Leverkusen, let's say, in kind of status, right, in the Premier League compared to the Bundesliga. You know, always knocking on the door, never quite kind of making it, you know. And it would be a great project. But again, I don't think, being realistic, I think even if we go out there and throw everything at him, I can't see him coming, because as Gary said, I saw some reports, but I also think personally he's just going to take some time out after that. You know, he's getting a nice payoff, and you know, I think he's waiting as well for the Liverpool job, because from what I've heard, Slot is on very shaky ground at the moment, and a lot of my Liverpool mates, a couple of them who are also quite well connected at the club, are saying Slot's basically a goner. It's just a question of like when they do it, and you know what their plan is for after him. You know, so I wonder whether he is waiting for that. But again, we need to try with him, right? I would assume that the leadership, whoever it is, you know, whether it's Lange or Vinay or whoever, that they would at least have contacted him or his agents to kind of have that conversation, which I'm sure a lot of teams have done, to be fair, as well. But he would be perfect from his status, from the way that he plays football, and the fact that he, you know, knows the Premier League as well. He loves the Premier League. You know, he always said that he would be up for London as well, actually, you know, earlier in his career, like as a location. So why not? But he's got to be up for it. And I don't think any of us know that for sure.
Gary, any thoughts on that? And I'm going to bring you and then obviously bring Adrian back on this. If Arne Slot was to become available, what would we think of that? I know I was a big advocate for Ange Postecoglou that 2 summers ago, whatever it was, 3 summers ago. And I know a lot of people were advocating for Slot, and I'm told Slot turned us down, and we went for Ange. Your knowledge of the game, your knowledge of people in the game, your knowledge of what goes on at Tottenham.
I like him, Arne Slot. I wanted him. I was one of those advocating for him. Disappointed he turned us down, but he did explain that actually quite recently, that it was due to family. I don't think his daughter or wife or some combination of the two were ready to move, and he didn't want to be without them, which you can get. You know, as a father and a husband, I would get that. I understand that. I like him. I like what he did, or what he has done at Liverpool. There's a couple of names that I would probably put ahead of that, if you want me to go into that. But if it's
I've got some written down. I mean, I can tell you where I'm taking this. I'm happy to move it along, but
okay. Well, I like Arne Slot. If he was available, I think he could do well here. He would have 2 years of experience at the Premier League, which I think is crucial as well.
Sorry, I missed who you said there.
On Slot. Yeah, he's had 2 years. Well, he will have 2 years experience in the Premier League, which I think is crucial. I wouldn't be unhappy if he rocked up at White Hart Lane, that's for sure. But I think there's other names that are probably going to be ahead of him.
You right? Sorry, I'm just putting the Slot one into the frame there. That's all. The other name. Well, I'm going to go through. I'll talk to you. It's not a secret here. I want to talk about Xavi Hernandez, although I think we've talked about Glasner. There's some Argentine bloke that some of you may have heard of. and then I looked through the bookies. I think some of these are quite ridiculous, but Marco Silva, Ruben Amorim, no thanks. Robbie Keane, interesting. Jurgen Klopp, Enzo Maresca, no. Iriola and Roberto De Zerbi. That's where the bookies' money is, and they're not usually that wrong. Ryan Mason, I don't know what the odds on Ryan Mason were.
You've left out Thomas Tuchel,
Where's Poch?
but there's also the issue: do we get a manager in before or after the World Cup? Because there's not going to be a lot of the time, right, to pre-season with your team and your players. I mean, this is why I say we should be a professional club and have a list already. Do the deal knowing that whenever bang, you can just sign it off straight away. But there's some good choices there. Alonso, Tuchel, Xavi, Nagelsmann. I mean, they'll all be good. I mean, Poch knows the Premier League. He did well on limited resources, 518 days without a signing at the football club. I think he would appease a lot of the fan base because he's done it in the Premier League. He didn't win anything, but he wasn't backed. And he raised the whole expectations of this football club of being guaranteed, ECL football, basically. And he was just left to fail, basically. Left to fail. Went to France. He only won the French Cup, But again, there was issues there with players' egos, again, right? And at least with Poch, you're going to get that high line. You're going to get a style of football. You haven't got to worry about that. It's going to be a high line, press, and you're going to get. I would take Poch. He's the very safe option, I think. Some fans, no, he didn't win anything. Well, hang about. What he did, he took us to a new level. We at best hoped prior to Poch were like Europa League. He took us to a level where we expected Champions League football. I mean, we finished second, third, and fourth under him, and we were that. If we were the right signings, we probably could have got a Premier League title, but he wasn't backed.
Yeah, the stadium possibly came at the wrong time for that. Tom, can I bring you back because you follow international football as well? This is a name that's come up from time to time, who's been out of work now since leaving Barcelona, who might be ready to step into another club. I just need to get my charger because my iPad's down to 21%, and I do not want us running out. Any thoughts on Xavi Hernandez?
I mean, he would be in my top 4 choices of managers coming. My biggest worry with Xavi is that you get these managers that are only good for the club that they played for or they started at, right? Like he played for Barcelona, he then managed Barcelona because he knows that club inside out. He was always going to get given time and chance. But I think, is that something that would, again, scale up in a different environment? It'd be really... I don't really know, but let's be fair to him as well. He managed Barcelona during their worst possible time in terms of trying to manage the board, and like if there's a manager that can cope with like the owners and the boards being an absolute mess, then I think he's one who has shown that can manage through that and stuff. And the way that he produced players or used the players from their academy, La Masia, was just phenomenal as well, because he wasn't being backed with any transfers. This is around the time where Barcelona were having to sell potential future money from TV revenue deals to be able to actually make sure they could register players and stuff like that. They were an absolute mess and still are an absolute mess, and he navigated that really, 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 really well. So he is a manager for me that I think would be good. And again, he's a name that's going to get everyone on board straight away. Do I think he's the perfect manager for us, in the way that he plays? Possibly not. But he's a darn sight better than what we've got at the moment. And for me, it's I want a manager now. Although I feel, yes, in the summer there is going to be loads of managers available. What worries me with that is that there's then going to be a lot of clubs who are going to purposefully be looking for managers. I would not be surprised if in the summer Liverpool are looking for a manager, United are going to be looking for a manager, I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea are going to be looking for a new manager come the summer. I wouldn't be surprised if Man City are going to be looking for a new manager come the summer. Then you add into the fact any teams that are abroad as well. So, yes. Oh, well, Luis Enrique is leaving PSG as well. So PSG are going to be looking for a manager, and Luis Enrique might be available. And it says he wants I mean, if we could get Luis Enrique, that would probably be like perfect for me as well. Like there's going to be a lot of good managers, but I just want a manager now so they've got time with the team. But that's me personally. I want them to have a few months of no real pressure to try and get their philosophy. I say no real pressure, but with our games coming up, we could be getting dragged into a relegation battle if we're not careful. But, no real pressure to get their ideas across. And then they have a summer of building whilst everyone else is scrambling for managers. I don't want to be in a position where we're another summer where we're scrambling for a manager. And then you have another summer where that manager's like, oh, let me see what I can do with these players. And we won't really invest. And then you're back to square one again. Like, give them 6 months now. They'll go into the summer knowing what they want, what they don't want, who they want to move on, who they want to keep, and then you can build from there. Which is why I feel like either Xabi or Xavi would be like one of my preferred options right now. And they're not tied to a club either. That's the other thing as well. You're not looking at paying a big compensation fee like we did for Thomas Frank.
Gary?
Xavi Hernandez.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very good. He came out last year and said that he wants a long-term project of 4+ years, and he wants that in the Premier League. I think we are a long-term project. He will need backing, and this might upset some people. I think that Thomas Frank has been backed. He definitely has had money spent on him. I just don't think he's getting the right tune out of those players. Tom was spot on with his assessment of Barcelona. He came in at the worst possible time to try and save his beloved club after dominating with Al Sadd in Qatar. It's really well liked over there. Done some really good football and played sort of that Barcelona way. I think he'll come in. He'll fit quite well in the Premier League if Pep doesn't leave Man City. And you've got Arteta at Arsenal. You've got 3 sort of high-level Spanish managers that are built in La Masia and built in that Barcelona way. I think he'll definitely bring that in. I like him. He's available as well. Another thing
there's a thought as well. Sorry, if Arsenal succeed in blowing this title again, that Arsenal will have a vacancy as well.
There's going to be a lot of clubs. Pep Guardiola,
West Ham, Crystal Palace, and Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, you got Crystal Palace, you got Bournemouth, you got potentially Man City, you've got Manchester United, you'll have us, you're potentially PSG if the rumours are true there. You've got Real Madrid, you've got probably some in Italy as well. I mean, it's a lot of managers, but there's going to be a lot of managers coming available through the World Cup. I'm in agreement. I think that we need to have a plan in place now, and I think that's probably what they're looking at. Does Xavi Hernandez come in now and change things? Potentially. But that's another big risk and a gamble. For me, we need an interim that can settle the ship, settle things down. That might be an ex-manager that's been with the club before, an older mind with a younger body. And then we look in the World Cup. For me, I can't get my head past Pochettino, if I'm completely honest.
On that, Gary, just one question on that. Do you think, I mean, this is a little bit left field, but it makes logical sense. Do you think because Conor Gallagher was Pochettino's captain at Chelsea, that gives Pochettino a better chance in a frame or what?
It's potential. I just can't. There's a number of reasons why I think Maurizio, not just purely because I absolutely love the guy. I'm actually reading his book at the moment as well. I don't know why it's taken me so long to do that, but I'm not a big reader. But it's taken me a little while. For me, I don't see anybody that can do 2 things that are critical right now. One, he could unite 80% of this fan base instantly. He'll unite that, which I think we really need. He's got experience in the Premier League with multiple clubs. He will come in and he's built enough credit he's got enough credit in the bank with a lot of the fan base, that 80%, maybe 75%, that we understand the style of play that he wants. We understand the way he manages, the way he develops players, his communication. And then we can also understand that because he's got that credit in the bank, that he can say to us, or he could say to me, for instance, this is going to take me some time, but we're going to get there. And I'll back that because I can trust that credit's there. And that's why I feel like if Vinay, with the work and the statements he's brought out in the program yesterday, where he wants the fan base on board, he needs to listen to that fan base. He only needs to go on social media and see it. It's there, glaringly obvious for you, and you can unite quite a large continuum with that. The downside to that is we're going to have to wait 5 months, 6 months for him. And like what Ian was, like what you were saying, Adrian, there is no reason we can't bring in, let's just say Harry Redknapp, or what, for instance, with a younger mind, see us out. Because look, Martin O'Neill's doing very well at Celtic on that interim basis, and then we can speak to the USA and say, we understand and respect the World Cup's important to you. It's in your home nation. We don't want to take Maurizio now. He wants to come back. He said it in nearly every interview. Let's have a pre-agreement. He'll come in once it, and then that settles things down. We as a club know where we're going, and we can focus, and then there's an alignment. I just can't get my head past Maurizio. There are other names. I think Xabi Alonso would be incredible. I think he's going to go to Liverpool, so I don't think Arne Slot's going to be here. I think Enzo Maresca will replace Pep at Man City. I think this might be the end for Pep. I think he'll then potentially retire. I think Luis Enrique may go to like a Manchester United, something like that. Glasner will be available. Someone needs to go to Palace, Bournemouth. But I fully understand if this club comes knocking at Maurizio's door, he's not going to listen to anybody else.
He actually, I mean, he would be the easiest deal to do. But in his 5.5 years, as you said, take time. In his 5.5 seasons at Spurs, he got rid of 35 players.
Yeah.
Those people didn't know. He did weed them out to shape the team in his mould.
Yeah, he did.
That's probably the last time I've consistently enjoyed going to watch football.
Yeah, and this is what I come back to, is that you understand, if he comes in, you would understand the style that he's going to bring to us, and the patience is going to be there. I think with a large element of the fan base, of course, there's going to be some that aren't, but you need to unite a large section. At the moment, oddly, we are pretty united in our thoughts of wanting Thomas Frank to leave the football club.
Yeah, this is. I was going to say, this is like the most I've seen Spurs fans like as a together. Is just the fact that we don't want Thomas Frank as manager anymore. I've never seen us as so cohesive, apart from maybe when obviously Nuno. But I think Nuno was just wrong man, wrong time. It was all bad timing. But the main reason why I think, Maurizio Pochettino is the right person to go for if we're going to wait for the summer is just to get that monkey off our back, because everyone is always going to be going, what about Poch? What about Poch? Bring Poch back. What about Poch? No matter what manager we get in, they're always going to have the Pochettino monkey hanging over them of, if they're not doing it, we should get Poch back. We should get Poch back. And it's almost like that. We almost need to just like itch that scratch, see if it works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we've itched that scratch, and we never, ever, ever have to bring up Pochettino in manager talk again. But it's all about timing, isn't it, really? And it's just a shame that the World Cup and the timing of that isn't, leading itself to be, what we could have done with a Winter World Cup this time, couldn't we? Rather than 4 years ago. And then it would have been done, and it would be ready to go.
I think Ian's having some audio difficulty at the moment. His microphone's not coming through. So,
well, I've got a question for you guys. And while Ian's sorting himself out, how do you affect if we all know Frank's going? It's just a question of the timing of it, right? Do any of you can answer this? Do you think it's going to affect our transfer window adversely?
Well, it is. Like, I mean, Sousa hasn't even been announced yet. Yeah, he was walking around the stadium yesterday. Like, how on earth, if you was a player, how on earth could you sign for a club when you don't even know who the manager's going to be? Like, so irrespective of anything, like this hanging over our heads, it is going to be, because now the board, instead of talking about, oh, can we supply the money for them to go and get this player that they want, they're talking about, right, can we supply the money to get this guy out or anything like that. So it absolutely is, and we need players, like absolutely need players. So the last thing we need to be doing is dilly-dallying with manager speak. Like, if he is not going to be the man that's going to see out the rest of the season, then just get rid of him as soon as you can, so you can get back onto signing the players you need. But again, how can you sign players when you then don't have a manager? Like, are you realistically going to be able to sign players with an interim, or do you go, or do you sign players on the basis that you know that Mauricio Pochettino is going to be here next season? Like, do you have that, like Gary said, do you have that conversation with Poch and kind of get it all sealed and agreed that as soon as the World Cup's done, he's going to be Spurs manager, and then you can start signing players for Pochettino, and he can kind of do it on like a consultancy kind of basis, and then you have an interim manager that just deals with what he's given.
I need to say, is my mic working now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't know what I changed there. I know Gary has to shoot in a few minutes, so let's. We probably won't run too much longer anyway. An hour and 50 minutes, 2 hours, I think, is usually enough for everybody. Not least all you people that are. Yeah, and Phil needs to go as well. So yeah, look, that's ideal. We will wrap it up inside 10 minutes if that's okay. There's lots of other names we can talk about. I mean, I put evening Jimmy. I haven't gone through the chat. There's too many of you making comments, but lots of rumours that this is Eddie Howe's last season at Newcastle as well. I don't know how people would think about him as well, but he's another one that will be on the market and would be in demand, and I think is a class up from Thomas Frank with his experience at Newcastle. You're not so sure, Phil, but
I'm not either. I think with Eddie Howe, I think he's a very, very good manager. But again, I don't think he's a manager who scales up to, like, Newcastle has struggled since he's been a manager there, struggled against teams that sit off them. So any team that decides to sort of park the bus against them and make it a mid-block, low block, his teams seem to really struggle against teams that are going at him. Like your Spurs, like your, well, sometimes your Spurs, like your Chelsea's, your United's, that are going to take the game to them. They do really, really well with that counter-attacking, like physical kind of team. I just don't think he can scale up to be a possession dominating manager.
As you said earlier, Tom, we need a manager that will attract names, attract players. So it's got, and Pochettino would do that, and as with a lot of the big names you mentioned, they'll do it as well.
How would be a risk?
Gary,
like,
if you've got to go, let me bring you in. I think I'm getting. I spoke to Callum before we went on air. In terms of the transfer business, there is a transfer window open at the moment, and I imagine it's pretty difficult to attract players given the upheaval that's going on. But I understand that the Sousa thing the announcement has been delayed for no other reason. The club just don't want to be making any public statements at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much. He was at the game yesterday. Everything's been done, signed. He's said his goodbyes, I think, on Instagram as well. So he's a Tottenham player. So they just need to officially announce it, which I assume will probably be tomorrow as well. I think that yesterday, because of such uproar, is why it hasn't been done before.
My understanding is because it's a different international form because of his age to come over. Normally, foreign players have got to play for their country and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that final form. I think that's
as far as I'm aware, everything was done.
Okay.
It's done. It's just they just need to put an announcement out that is it. He's already been at the club. He was there yesterday. He's been pictured in the medium, in the mix zone and everything. So yeah, that just needs to be announced. I think the delay was that Santos didn't own 100% of his rights because they do some weird stuff in Brazil where they sell part of the player. But I think that's all been sorted and done.
Yeah.
In terms of anyone coming in, it's gone very, very quiet. Which
surprise!
I just think that it's gone quiet because I don't think Thomas Frank's going to be the football manager. I can't. If he gets past tomorrow, I'm going to be absolutely shocked.
Yeah. Just on that Krish, that I quoted a tweet of his before. What do they call it now on X? Whatever they call it, a post, whatever. Has said his latest was, it's not a matter of if with Thomas Frank, it's a matter of when, which I think is pretty consistent with everything you've heard, Gary.
Yeah, David Ornstein has actually said that. He said that we're on an interview with American TV as well. He said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This is what I said yesterday. It's going to happen. I thought it might have been today, but tomorrow makes sense as well because there is a press conference anyway. Like I said at the beginning of this, if he walks into that press conference, he's been given 2 games. Which is the atmosphere on Tuesday, me and Phil going together, that's going to be some atmosphere in there. If he does walk out, it's going to be.
I'll meet you.
Yeah, that's going to be loud.
Yeah,
that'll be another good thing. We won't have to listen to too many Thomas Frank press conferences. Can we please get someone in who can handle a press conference manager when he comes in? Even Potts can be cryptic. At least can be cryptic. We don't know how else we need furniture. At least we can be cryptic, but we like. And don't have a pop at the fan base, whoever you are. You know what I mean? That's
no, it's definitely not nearly every. I mean, he did it after the game as well. It was on Sky Sports. Really, again, I can't understand it. But like I say, the only further information I had is there was the meetings. There's Vinay wants to give him some time, but there's people in there higher up than Vinay that said no, he needs to go. And that's kind of where we are. Some people said, one person told me it's been done, but I don't know that for certain, so I can't say for certain on it. So yeah, really, if he turns up in that press conference tomorrow, he's got them 2 games. And how they think he can turn it around in those 2 games, I don't know. But
beyond, it's
ridiculous.
I don't think even at Dortmund, I know us 3 of us are going here. I don't think if he walks on the touchline against Dortmund, he's going to be well received. I just think he's dead in the water.
He's going to get booed as soon as he walks out there. I'm assuming they're going to be chants for him to leave. And I've got a feeling they'll start chanting for Pochettino and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Senegal have won AFCON, so thank you for all of you that have watched this instead of watching that, or maybe you've been listening to that and watching. I know some of my family have been watching that while listening to this. I know we've got a couple of people needing to. Well done, whoever's put that up.
You're welcome.
Can we take it off? I want to put the links to people. Adrian, did you put that up? Yeah, I mean, I know. I'm going to wrap it there because 2 of our guests need to leave. Adrian, we'll do a show, I reckon, on Wednesday because there's no point doing a show.
Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Dortmund game on Tuesday.
Maybe there'll be an emergency one tomorrow if Frank gets announced as he's sacked. Who knows? I mean, at least life is interesting. But a big thank you to Phil. We got over 1,800 at one point. I know both of you have contributed a lot of listeners to that, so a lot of viewers to that. So if you're with Project Spurs or you're with Diehards, please get over and follow. Phil always got worthwhile things to hear. Frankfurt Spurs, knows his German football really well, which is always useful to have given the amount of games we've got against the next 2 European games against German clubs and managers with German experience. If you're with Frankfurt or you're with Diehards and you're there, please get over onto YouTube to Project Spurs. No O and no E in the project, and like and subscribe. And if you're with either Phil or Gary's channels, please come on to Diehards, Spurs Diehards TTID on YouTube and like and subscribe. As I say, we were over 1,800 tonight, which I think is a record for us. A lot to talk about, and maybe who knows what will happen in the next couple of days with events. A huge thank you to all of you, to Phil, to Gary, to Tom, one of our admin team, and to my partner in crime, Adrian. Thanks for all your comments in the chat. Lots of thanks,
just
Jimmy.
on Wednesday, guys. If Phil, because we think the seconds are coming, are you two available Wednesday at 9 o'clock UK?
Yep.
You are, Phil.
Potentially, we were going to.
Okay.
We were
All
going
right,
to stream
and Tom
to
as
the
well,
West
obviously, and you, Ian, as well. If not, we'll
I know. I'm in Spain. We're out at because we're an hour ahead. We're meeting at 7 o'clock with neighbours for dinner, which is 6 o'clock. So even if I miss the beginning, they're an elderly couple.
Just hop on if
So
you're about,
I'll just hop on. But listen, everybody, thank you so much. Been I think a really interesting show. Again, lots of mature discourse of where we are as a club. We will be back, if not tomorrow, and maybe not tomorrow. Now, I think Frank will get to take the team.
Well, definitely
tomorrow.
Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So.
Definitely Wednesday, Friday, and absolutely, we'll be back post Burnley. And who knows who'll be playing, who knows who'll be managing our team come the weekend. Thanks, everybody. Going to play you out with my solemn soul music. A little
No,
bit
it isn't. It's my
tongue-in-cheek.
one, actually. I changed it. I forgot to change it back to yours, so it's got to be my one. But it's still good.
Oh, okay. Well, either way. Right. Anyway, thanks, everybody, and see you next time.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die.